Welcome to I Wish Someone Would Have Told Me, a podcast and video series about women's health and wellness, barrier breaking, and self advocacy, all united by what we wish someone would have told us when we were younger. In this episode, I chat with my soulmate, Vianessa Castaños. Viane, as I call her, is a woman of many talents and an all around creative person. We've lived together, been broke together, and have helped each other in every facet of our lives. A little bit about Vianessa. Vianessa Castaños has been asking questions for as long as she can remember, and as long as I've known her, starting with her first interview at age 6, a recorded conversation with herself in which she revealed that her life goal was to work in television and to become a baby chicken. I don't know what that's about. While she was too young to understand that transfiguration was not possible, that moment ignited her passion for storytelling, setting her on a winding 20-year-plus journey through the entertainment industry as a bilingual actress and producer. With acting credits such as Edna on Apple TV's Land of Women, Romina in Netflix's El Caso Asunta, and roles in hit series like American Crime Story, People vs. O.J. Simpson, and The Mindy Project. Vianessa later founded Anacaona Productions, a TV development house based in Madrid, Spain. Today, she continues her work as a presenter and host, exploring topics such as identity, interculturality, pop culture, and the effects of technology on culture and media. Viane and I will discuss her journey from Los Angeles to Madrid, how and why she started her production company, and her aim to disrupt the entertainment industry. And this conversation tees things up for when she interviews me. Before you get to know her, I have to do some quick housekeeping. Please be sure to follow the podcast on social media at I Wish Someone Told Me Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. You can support the pod by subscribing, rating, sharing, and or downloading the podcast and its episodes. There is no content trigger warning for this particular episode, but I will say it is a fun one to watch. Here is the yin to my yang, Vianessa Castaños. So Vianessa is joining us from Spain, and we're in Miami. So tell us how you got to Spain.
I know. How did I get to Spain? Well, I think it was like in the 1930s. There was this invention called the aeroplane.
Oh, shut up.
And so I took an aeroplane from Miami to, it's what it's pronounced. It's an aeroplane from Miami to Madrid. And that's how I got there.
That's how you got there?
Yes.
Why did you go?
Why did I go? Well, I first went because I was looking for an excuse to move to Spain.
Mm-hmm.
I did the Camino de Santiago when I was 35, and I fell in love with the country and the countryside and the place. And kind of just was looking for avenues that would bring me there. And in this instance, I would say preparation met luck, because when I was there, I met the woman who is now my agent. And at that point, I was semi-retired from acting. And she was like, if anything ever comes up, I'll let you know. And I was like, oh, yeah, whatever. I'm like retired, but here are my materials. Cool. Yeah. Keep me posted. I was living with you at the time.
Yes, you were?
No, not yet. I hadn't moved in yet. This was like fast forward a year and a half later. Then I was living with you.
2019.
It was 2018.
Yes.
Yeah. And so she called me at that point, and was like, oh, something came up. Would you be interested in auditioning? And I was like, cool. I did the self-tape in the bedroom in the apartment that you and I shared.
606.
Sent it in, and she's like, a couple weeks later, maybe like 2 weeks later, she's like, they're really interested in you. However, they want you to be in Madrid. And I was like, guess I'm going to Madrid. And I said, bye, Liana. And I packed my bags and I left her in Miami and went to Madrid.
Left me.
Yes.
But it was a good decision.
Yes, I'm very happy with my decision.
And you were retired. Why did you retire from acting?
Burnout. Like, there's no other way around it. I was 34, and at that point, I had lived in LA. Was I 34? No, I was 36. Wait, that's a lie. I was 34.
Let's say 35 for good measure.
Well, no, because 35 I had already left, and so 35 was the birthday that I went to Spain. So I was 34, and I was absolutely burnt out. I had been in LA at that point for 11 years, And LA is a grind, and I love LA, and it's a grind that I love. But after so long, it wears on you, you know, in the inconsistency of basically being freelance, because I was to support my career as an actor, which working in entertainment is almost always freelance.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, my day job was being a freelance writer. So I had two very unstable careers that I loved and enjoy very much, but so much instability for 11 years, it really wears down on you. And I was just like, I can't be here anymore. And at that point, I also started dabbling in production. I had worked on my own projects and other projects, doing more behind the scenes stuff over the course of like the last 2 or 3 years that I was in LA. And I wanted to focus on that. I was like, I need to step away from the auditions and step away from that inconsistency and pursue this other inconsistency instead.
My self-imposed inconsistency.
Yes. But I wanted to focus on writing and focus on working in production. And I started interviewing with different media companies, and I would always make it to the last round. At that point, I left LA. I went to the Bay Area because that's where my mom was, and she was moving back to Florida. My dad had already moved back. And I was helping her pack up the house, and I kept getting interviews, but they were all in New York. So I kept flying back to New York, and there was a point where I was like, doesn't make sense. I'm just going to move to New York. So after I left LA, I did the stint at my mom's, went to New York, and I was there for about 6 months, and it was the same. Kept interviewing with these great media companies. I would make it to the last round. They'd always be like, oh my God, it's between you and somebody else.
Yeah.
And then it would always go to somebody else, and I was like, I can't do this. So that's when I took the trip to Spain for my 35th birthday and kind of used that time to realign my life. And the funny thing about it was when I left LA at 34, I met with my manager at the time. And because at that point, I was actually doing really well. I had booked, I think that year I had booked 3 or 4 series, like the Mindy Project, which I loved. And I love Mindy Kaling. She was like my hero and professionally. And so that was like a dream role for me. And so it was going really well. But I was still like, I gotta go. So I told my manager at the time, like, I'm leaving, I'm retiring, but I will unretire when I'm 40, you know? So it kind of just like full circle, I'm back in it. It kind of picked up again when I was 40, and semi-intentionally, but not fully intentionally.
Well, it really picked up like, you didn't even kind of have to, it just kind of happened. It wasn't like
it kind of happens like, it was like, literally like, oh, she's turning 40, and the universe was like, go.
Here are your jobs.
Yeah.
Here we go.
And that's not to say that I've been like, I'm 42 now, but so that's not to say that the past 2 years I've been working nonstop, because that's not the case. But I have been working, and it's been really interesting and working on some really cool stuff that I'm very excited about.
I'm excited too.
It's been going really well.
I'm very excited. What would you say is the thing that maybe you didn't expect throughout this process that you've reflected on or learned from when you said, I'm going to walk away, and then it came back and starting your own projects and all those different things?
I didn't expect it to actually happen.
What do you mean?
Because I was just like so burnt out. And part of that burnout, because once I left LA, like one of the big things was I just had a huge identity crisis.
Yeah.
Because I have been an actor of sorts, you know, forever. Like that's what was my dream since I was a kid. By no means has it been the only thing that I've done. Like my entire identity hasn't been wrapped around that.
Right.
But it was a core part of me, because it was like the first thing that came out of I came out of my mom's womb when I was like, showtime, you know? Like that is just a part of me. And so when I made that decision to leave, it really sent me into like a spiral, like an identity crisis spiral, especially when you're in LA and you're in an environment where your focus is almost solely on your career. Your free time isn't taking classes, you know, figuring out ways how to market yourself, how to improve yourself. And then to walk away from that is just like, okay, well, what am I if I'm not this, or if I'm not pursuing this? Like, you know, so I think it was a very necessary step away. I think that was the best decision I made, ironically enough, was stepping away and taking that time to be myself and be by myself and kind of try, I wouldn't say different things, but the things I tried weren't that much different, because I kept, you know, writing and working and marketing and things related to it, but not pursuing it to the same extent and to the same intensity. And so when you do something like that, you kind of, I don't want to say I mean, you hope that things will work out one way or another, but you don't know how they're going to work out.
You can't see the full...
you can't, you know, you don't know which way it's going to go. And I was also open to whatever might happen, you know. I wasn't closing myself off to anything. So I could have very easily ended up, I don't know, in a completely different career path, you know, I can't even think of something because I'm just so focused on what I do. But you know, it's kind of like the surprise of like, well, I didn't really have expectations. So everything that has happened, even though it's what I wanted, has been unexpected.
Yeah. And I think that there's an excitement to that too. Were you, like, you and I talk about ageism a lot. Were you concerned at all about saying 40? Because a lot of people are like, oh, when you get to a certain age in acting or in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Was that a concern for you at all?
For sure. I mean, it still is a concern, but it was, I'm very hard-headed. So like when I say I want to do something, I'm like, I know that ageism exists. I know that especially for it's more limiting for women than it is for men.
Yeah.
In entertainment as you age, sadly enough, there has been some change to that. Not as much as I would like to see, but there has been significant changes in more roles for women in a certain age. So I think when I made that decision, it was with the hope and the assumption that like the industry will be different by that. In those whopping, 6 years, the industry will, and it has changed quite a bit in that time. So I do feel that there are opportunities for women my age. Funnily enough, I think there are more of those opportunities in Europe than there are in the United States. Oh. So I won't be moving back for that among many other reasons. But yeah, it's always there. It's always in the back of your mind. And especially now with the way the media landscape and the entertainment landscape has changed, where it always skews younger. It has always skewed younger.
Right.
That's just how marketing and but it's funny because working on both sides, like in front of the camera, behind the camera, and also working in marketing. And it's just like, it doesn't really have to skew younger. This is like a decision that somebody's making and it trickles down.
Right.
Because, I don't say this to limit opportunities for younger people at all, but why or who is determining that the target audience has to be people between,
XYZ.
18 and 28, ideally, when people in our age group are the ones who have the higher spending. We have we have the income to buy products and to make products and to consume these things more so than a younger audience does.
Yeah.
And so it's just been, for me, that's also very interesting, the decision-making process of it.
Why do you think Europe is better at that than the United States?
Well, the markets are smaller. So like Spain, for example, Spain right now is doing a huge investment in the audiovisual industry, which it's grown immensely in the past couple of years. In the 5 or so years that I've been there, like it's grown massively, and it's going to continue to do so because they have the funding works differently, and they also have funding from the European Union, which we don't have in the U.S. Like the U.S. government doesn't fund, film projects. You might be able to get a grant from an organization, but over there they have more funding opportunities, and the markets are a little bit smaller. So I think it has to do, one, with the size of the market. I think that gives them more room to kind of like play with different aspects of storytelling. But I really think it's the public. It's the consumer. It appears to me, because again, the ageism still exists, and there are still more opportunities for younger people. But I think the audience demands it. The audience there demands it more so than the audience here. They demand more representation. There's a lot more. People love going on strike in Europe, and they love protests.
That's never stopped.
So there's a lot of protests, and there's a lot of vocalizing, this is what we want. And then the people actually consume those products and consume that entertainment when it's created. Whereas I feel like here it's maybe a little bit more passive.
And then personally for you, what has 40 kind of represented, going past it and creating your own things in that process?
Oh man. How do I answer that
question? Did I stump you?
I don't know if you stumped me. What are you saying? Honestly, 40 plus has been good to me. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
I I'm so one of those people that like when I have a birthday and people are like, oh my God, you're turning 21 again. I'm like, don't say that to me. Our friendship ends here. Like that's not cute and that's not funny because I would not ever in a million years want to be in any part of my 20s at all.
Yeah.
Doesn't interest me in any way, shape, or form. And so I think 40s was very much, and 40 kind of like, was really like just a point where you just kind of click and like, you know what, this is who I am, this is what it is, this is what I want, and this is what I'm willing to do to get it, even though, you know, I guess it was more of an exaggerated version of my past self because I have less self-imposed limitations.
I don't even know if it would be exaggerated as your friend. I feel like you really just stepped into like and accepted this is who I want to be and this is who I'm going to be. Instead of just trying to like repress that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's been that, and it's also there's like a little bit of like a struggle with that too, right? Because I've always had this vision, or I think we all have like this vision of ourselves, how we see ourselves or how we want to see ourselves, but that doesn't always align with who we present outwardly for different reasons, for professional reasons, for social reasons or whatever. And so I feel like up until 40 or so, I was still trying to like, okay, well, this is what people expect of me. This is what people think of me. Or, you know, like, this might not be socially acceptable for me to behave this way. And then I was just like, fuck it. You know, I don't care. I don't care because I'm tired and that's not who I am. And I'm tired of performing for free. I will perform for a fee, but not for free.
I will perform and speak and do all the things.
Yes.
For a
but
fee.
Not like, that's not who, like, the Vianessa that I am and that I see, it doesn't align with what other people see. And so now I'm trying to make other people see what I see.
What's the biggest challenge with that?
That I'm completely unhinged. I think that's the biggest challenge. It's I just like I'm not like the most random person in the world, but I have pretty random like thoughts and, you know, ways of expressing myself that I think that's not scaring people.
No, she's like, you never scare anybody.
Well, not you, but, you know.
No, never.
So, yeah.
Why are you hiding your feet?
I hate you. I'm hiding my feet because I haven't gotten a pedicure in like a year and a half.
Okay.
And you know what? That being said, they look fine.
So, but why are you hiding them?
Because you're all judgy. Like, no,
I'm not
judging. I don't need this in my life.
I'm not judging. You look fabulous.
No, of course.
You look fabulous.
Thank you.
So, I'm sure your feet are fine.
They are lovely. Thank you.
Should I face this way now?
I don't know. I'm just giving my sciatica hip a break.
Okay. Let's see how this feels.
This is very natural.
It's
to
not.
camera. It is. That's right. You're not comfortable? That's because you're wearing jeans.
This is true.
Yeah. And you're wearing shoes. You should take your shoes off.
All right, I'll take my shoes off.
To reveal freshly manicured toes.
This is actually
something I don't know about.
Very, very fresh. I really enjoy my manicure pedicure time.
See, I like, once I'm there, I enjoy it. But the idea of sitting there for like an hour, I don't. So like I talk myself out of going because I start thinking, oh my God, I'm going to sit there for an hour.
Well, do you feel like you're wasting time?
I do.
Why?
Because I could be watching TV instead. I don't know. Like it just doesn't, I don't know. It's like it just.
Do you not like people touching your hands and your feet?
I don't mind it. It's just like when, you know, you're literally just sitting like this for like should I read a book? Like
you can watch TV on your phone.
Yeah, but I feel like that's rude.
Is it?
I don't know. You have someone servicing you, and like you're watching your phone. You know, like it's rude.
I get what you're saying.
You know, so like
it's like you're not acknowledging.
But also you're not talking to them. So I'm literally just sitting here for an hour, maybe occasionally saying like something here or there. But so it's just like the whole thing of it just. It's daunting to me. It's daunting to me.
Is that something that's going to happen while you're down here?
The mani-pedi?
Yes.
It should.
Do you need me to escort you?
I do, and you can hold my hand.
I'll hold space for you.
Hold space for me. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so touched.
I do what I can. Yeah. You know, I live to serve.
Oh.
This little coconut fits perfect with your situation, with your vibe.
Can you hear my broken straw?
Yes. Hopefully the mic can't pick it up.
No, it will. What are you drinking?
Tea.
What kind of tea?
Mint.
That's not tea.
Do you want some?
No.
Oh,
That is an infusion.
It's just, I think it's just mint. Mint tea. What do you think of the mugs?
The mugs are lovely.
Thank you.
The mugs and the jugs are great.
Your jugs are great.
Oh, thanks.
I know. You grew them yourself, as you say.
I did make them myself. Thank you for noticing.
But yeah, I think back on the ageism thing, because I spoke to you about this, I think we talked about this a little bit on the car, how this is the first year that I actually feel.
Oh, they're starting to hit you.
Yeah.
And you haven't even got to the good part yet.
What's the good part?
We're like passing 40. That's the good part.
But I'm still, at the time of this recording, I am 38. So 39 is right around the corner in January. And so now I'm thinking, like, holy fuck, I've been on the earth for this long. Like, what is this?
Our lives are halfway over. We're literally middle-aged, if you want to be technical about it.
So weird to me.
I know, and look how fabulous we look.
I'll give you that. I haven't felt my best, but I'm still, like, I think that's also
I'm starting to feel little things too, and I'm ignoring it because I'm like, no, it's not going to happen.
You're just
tennis elbow that won't go away. No,
that's very
sciatica.
specific.
Like what? It's been like this.
I do have sciatica.
Like a year. The sciatica started like last year, and that's also like, what is this? Because I'm not accustomed to. I mean, I don't know if anybody should be accustomed to that. That's
to sciatica.
Yeah, but
no,
I guess some people have it chronically.
I mean, I started to get it in January of this year. And then I was becoming aware of it, and I was able to kind of adjust my workout so that it wouldn't be so bad. And every now and then, if I don't pay attention, it'll creep up again. But I'm like, what's happening?
Is it your right hip?
Yeah, it's right.
Mine is my left hip. Oh my God, we balance each other out.
Always.
So what is it about?
Wait, is it you or is it me?
It's the other way.
Sorry.
So what is it about almost turning 39? That makes you feel some sort of impact or change is around the corner?
Your voice changed. I think it was a lot of things. I think everything that happened this year was just this big kind of, like you always feel, at least in your 30s, that you have all this time. And now all of a sudden it's just like, oh, maybe I don't have that much time. Like I do, but not in the same breadth as maybe I had before. Like, oh, I'll do this later. I'll do this when
time for what exactly?
Just time to figure everything out. Like what at this point I don't have a home. Like I don't have, I don't own anything. And so reevaluating what those things kind of mean and if they are still kind of attainable at this point at the progression that I'm going, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, but then that also requires a reevaluation of timelines because who's to say you have to own a home by 38 or 40 or whatever? So then where does this self-imposed timeline come from?
I think it's more so because I had this like plan with the move and all this other stuff of like, oh, I have this 4-year plan, and at the end of this 4-year plan, I can see where things are going. And so when the 4-year plan kind of got annihilated, it's like, oh, well, what's the new plan? You know what I mean? What's the new plan to kind of create this space in this life that I had in my mind? Or do I just shatter the whole thing, and just say, okay, well, that obviously wasn't the route for me. Maybe it's something else. So I don't know if it was self-imposed as much as it was planned and then completely disrupted, if that makes sense. So yeah. So I'm like, I don't know what 39's gonna bring to the table. But
what would you like it to bring to the table?
I mean, I would like to keep doing this podcast. In an ideal world, this would be something that could sustain itself. I think that's a really big hope and goal for me. I'm still open to getting another job. What that looks like, I have no real idea. Huh?
Tonely fans.
I know, right? I put my toes on the internet.
You need a close-up of your toes so people can see
They're
how
cute,
fabulous. She's got
guys.
fabulous feet. She's got such fabulous feet.
I get DMs from strangers.
She's got money-making
about
feet.
my
I'm just gonna
feet.
leave it at that. The choice is yours, but
I
I'm
know.
saying that there is a venue here.
They're cute.
Yeah, they are.
So yeah, like figuring out, I would love for this podcast to become its own thing. I definitely don't want to do social media anymore. That's like
As in like no social media management?
Yeah.
Or are you also pulling back on your personal social media?
Well, not so much my personal. I would like to get to the point where my skill set stops making other people money. In like the most higher up.
That is an excellent goal.
You know what I mean? Like I want to be able to take my skill set and make it work towards my creative projects and the visions that I have for myself instead of like some guy in an office.
Yeah,
Because
that is the dream.
You know, I've already worked for two of the big billionaires. I'm like, I'm not really interested in working for the third. Like, what for? So I think in a more sort of, for lack of a better word, meta sense, that's really kind of the overarching theme. How do I have my skill set come back to me specifically? So.
Excellent.
Any
You heard it here first.
Any ideas?
That's the thing. We are like the queens of ideas. Like we are never-ending source of ideas. But it's like the execution of it, especially when, you know, you have so many other things going on and responsibilities and work and life and blah, blah, blah. And also you need money to make things happen.
You do.
So that's the tricky part. It's like, where's the financing coming from?
Yeah.
Because there's, you know, when I did my first web series, I financed it myself with my unemployment check. And the money was mine. I paid for it in taxes. But you know, and I'm willing to do certain things myself, financing myself now as well. And there are certain things that I do pay out of pocket myself. But there's only so much of that you can do when you're not independently wealthy. And so I'm trying to also limit the amount of stuff that comes out of pocket because I'm not a millionaire, you know?
Yeah. And especially with this, because this is self-funded, this whole thing. And so it would be great to kind of like alleviate that responsibility and find some sort of financing. But you've been really good about getting grants for stuff and like or mentorship. What was the thing that you got?
Yeah, they're not grants. They've just I'm really good at pitching. So I've gotten, you know, I've won a couple pitch competitions, and so then with those you get some sort of assistance. You get mentorship. You get the opportunity to pitch your projects at bigger platforms. I haven't won anything where there was financial backing involved directly, but I have gotten a lot of opportunities that have opened doors to other bigger, better opportunities. Yeah.
Do you think that would be the next step this year to really focus on the financing
part?
Oh,
absolutely. Yeah. So I have a TV series, a comedy. We have the cast in place. I have a co-producer in place who is this, you know, really well-to-do production company in Spain that does international projects as well. They've done TV and film. It's funny, I was actually watching a movie the other day, I forget which one it was, and I saw their logo in the opening credits.
Oh, you
and I
did?
was like, oh, look at that, that's my partner. So this year for me, I'm very much focused on finding financing so that we can shoot the pilot for that series. And then I have another pilot that's already funded for a late night comedy show that I'll be hosting. But that's just the pilot episode. That's already kind of self-contained. And so then beyond that, it's, you know, just need a cool, like, I think I could pull it off with like 300,000, I think. You know, it's not a lot. It's actually not a lot.
It's not.
You know, but I think I could do, because I'm really good at work. I'm so scrappy, you know, after so many years of working on indie stuff and YouTube stuff and web series and low budget, like, short films and stuff.
Yeah.
I can stretch a budget. I'm very good at stretching a budget on a production. So ideally, you know, I would like more than that. But honestly, if I got my hands on 350,000, I know I can make this pilot happen, and it would be fabulous. But I'm working with my co-producer on getting the financing, because I don't know what's happening. I just had puberty while talking.
Would you like a coconut?
Oh yes, excuse me. Much better. So the way our production partnership works is I'm the creative brain behind it. It's my show, it's my script, but they are obviously the more established production company, so they have equal say pretty much on any final decisions we make, but they more so oversee the financial aspect. So they're looking for financing. That is primarily their focus, but then I'm also taking things into my hand as well because we need to move things along.
I think you would kill it. I really do. And I think there's a lot to be said. I think when you look at your background, and even with mine, we have these pivots that sometimes you're like, does this make sense? But you get yourself in situations where you're like, you can now take a production and be really scrappy with it because you've done...
Because I've done all this other stuff.
Right.
And it's like, oh, I had $3.
And let me stretch these $3 all the way.
Yeah.
All the way. So the magic number would be 300. Like that would be
that would be, you know, if we cross that line, I know we can pull it off. Ideally, like I would like, I think 500 would be like perfect, you know, 500K would be perfect. But I think with 300, we could definitely do a fabulous job.
Is there like an ultimate dream situation, an ultimate end goal career-wise?
Besides becoming the most powerful woman in the entertainment industry in Spain, no, that's it for me.
What would it take to get you back to come stateside?
Money.
That's what it just comes down to all the way
money,
around.
honestly, that's what most things in life comes down to, money. How much money are we talking?
Yeah.
How much you got,
appreciate
baby?
the fact that you...
How much you giving me?
No, and I
thought you were making an offer.
I don't got shit.
Oh,
I need a job first.
guess I'll be hopping on that flight back to Madrid.
I got a sexy couch, and that's all. That's all.
Well,
and
unless you're
for
hiding
day.
money inside this couch, I don't know that we have much more to talk about. Take this mic off me. I'm leaving.
But yeah, I feel like you are okay with saying that, and a lot of people are not okay with saying that, like, pay me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's because I'm not delusional.
Yeah.
I always joke like I don't care about money, but I love money because you have to have money to function, you know.
To live.
But I also have lived without money, so if I, you know, again, same with the production stuff. I can make it work with a couple dollars in my pocket. I can make it happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm not gonna front and say, oh well, I'm never gonna do XYZ. No, I'll do it for the right price. And if it doesn't reach that price, then I won't do it.
Yeah.
You know? Obviously within whatever I consider to be moral and whatnot, et cetera, et cetera.
What would you say, like, let's say for people who are just starting out, what would you say is like that line where you're doing something for experience, like, and then you hit a certain threshold where it's like, okay, it's time to get paid. Where do you think that threshold happens?
Oh, that's kind of tricky to say. I would say once it starts getting repetitive, like if you're doing the same thing for free more than like twice, try doing something else for free that is tangentially related, but so that you can, you know, continue learning in a different way.
Diversify.
And also if it's harming you, like if you are in a situation where it's harming you either physically, emotionally, or financially because you have bills to pay, but you're out here trying to, you know, do something because of the experience and you're also possibly going to be out on the street, then put a pin in that experience and figure out how to keep yourself safe and keep yourself stable, and then, you know, find a way to safely integrate that experience, unpaid, whatever it might be, back in somehow.
Did you ever teeter that line in your experience?
Of which line?
That's the line of like, ooh, this is getting kind of risky. Like I
mean, my entire 11 years in LA, like there was a stint where I was homeless. There was a stint, like I literally, I mean, I had my car. And I think I spent one night in my car, and then I had a friend in Long Beach who had a spare bedroom, and she's like, why don't you just come stay with me? Didn't have to pay. And thank you, Allison. And Rob. And so yeah, I mean, that's like a constant. Like when I left LA, when I told you that I was actually doing great career-wise, I will reiterate, being an actor is a freelance gig. So at that year, I
Talent
had
for hire.
talent for hire, and you only get paid the days that you work. Usually, when you're doing an under 5 or you're doing, like a guest spot, like you're usually only working 1 to 3 days. So the year that I moved from LA, I booked 3 television series, all speaking roles, really great for my reel. But between those 3 series, I think I had worked 6 days. I didn't have money to pay my rent. I was literally, there was like a corner store, like downstairs from my building on the corner. I would go every day and buy a can of Pepsi and like a bag of like Funyuns or whatever cheap chips were there.
Yeah.
And that would be all I ate the entire day because I did not have money, So yeah, I've been
like,
there,
I did my
done
time.
that. Been there, done that. Would I change anything? No.
I like Pepsi.
But
Funyuns,
I love Pepsi, and Funyuns are phenomenal. But that was also like right when I was like heading into nervous breakdown territory, and then ended up calling it quits because I was like, this is just too much.
What's the oddest job you've had?
Describe odd.
Unconventional, random.
I can tell you my first job ever.
Let's do it.
My first job ever, I used to teach models how to walk the runway for Barbizon. That was my first job ever.
Can you show us?
There's not enough space. I will give you a private runway lesson when you're ready.
Social media exclusive.
Yes, that was my first job ever.
Barbizon?
Barbizon.
Are they still in business?
I have no idea. They paid me well, and I used to teach runway.
How did you learn how to walk on a runway?
Baby, look at me.
What
kind of a question is that?
There was no Google. So were you modeling?
I was as a kid. I used to model at malls, and I also used to do at malls. I used to do mannequin modeling. You know what mannequin modeling is?
No.
When stores would hire me to be like JCPenney, to be in like the window, the display window, and be like a living mannequin. So like you'd find a pose, and then you'd hold it for like 3 minutes or whatever, and then you'd find another pose, whatever, and then you'd like
in the store,
and then you'd freeze and play. Yeah, so that's what I used to do
in
my
youth. How old were you when you did that?
Oh God, maybe like 13, 14, 15.
So are you saying that your mom was a momager?
My mom was a terrible momager, but she was a mom. Not a terrible momager because she was like evil. A terrible momager because she did not know.
She didn't maximize
how to maximize my potential.
Oh my
God.
But
she did. She made it do what it do.
So you're saying you could have been like a child star?
My mom could have been Kris Jenner if she would have like been smarter about it.
So you did live modeling.
I did.
And then taught people how to
do runway. Yeah.
That is so random.
Yes. I hope that answers your question.
No, it does. It's actually like the perfect answer because I know you've had like some really just random jobs. Like I remember when I went to visit you in LA. What were you doing when I went to visit you in LA?
I don't even remember.
I stayed with you for like 2 or 3 months. I think you were working for that activewear company.
Oh, was I working at Lorna Jane then?
Yes.
Yeah. So I used to work in the store, and then I ended up working in the warehouse, lifting boxes, and I loved the warehouse job. It was like probably I hated the company and the people, but working in the warehouse honestly was one of the best jobs I've ever had.
Why?
I just really I was almost alone. It was like me and like 2 other warehouse workers, like 2 dudes that worked the warehouse. And I just liked I had my computer with like the orders that would come in. I liked pulling all the items and stacking boxes, and it was also the best shape that I've ever been in my life.
It almost sounds a little meditative.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
It's like you didn't have to talk to people. You didn't have to...
Nope. I occasionally did like customer service stuff because I was also responsible for shipping out the orders. But that part was great.
What's one job that you would never want to do again?
Working at Lorna Jane. I would never work. I would never work.
It was the best.
It was the best and the worst. Yeah.
So, okay, so we did that, and then you also had that food truck thing. Where you drove the truck?
Yes, that was, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was just like another freelance marketing job. It was a friend who had messaged me, and she was a producer, but she was working with an advertising agency, and she's like, oh, they're looking for someone who has experience in marketing and also social media to do this food truck tour. Do you want to come in for the interview? I was like, yeah, why not? And so I drove, so it was two trucks, or there was a truck, the food truck, which was driven by these two guys who were like my team, and then there was a separate van, like one of those big giant, like what are they called? Not racer vans. What are they
Sprinter?
called? Sprinter vans.
Yeah, like
close.
the ones
Racer.
I wanted.
Yes. So literally, it was that. It was a Sprinter van.
I wanted one.
That was literally full of noodles. It was full of ramen noodles, the stacks and stacks of ramen noodles. And so I drove the van by myself, and then the two dudes drove the food truck. I don't even know who was in front of who. We just were like, this is where we're going. And it was actually pretty cool because it was a national tour. We started in New York and drove from New York all the way down. Did we make it to Florida? I don't know that we made it to Miami. I think we made it to Jacksonville. And then we caught across and went to like New Orleans, through Texas. We went up through Denver, all the way up to Idaho, and then drove the coast all the way down.
And how much time?
I was on the road for a few months. Yeah, I think it was 5 months.
You've crossed the country back and forth more than once, though.
Yeah, that was the only time I've done it professionally, and then I've done professionally, and then I've done cross country. Like when I moved to LA, I was living in DC, and I drove from DC to San Francisco, where my parents, or Bay Area, East Bay, where my parents were, by myself, and then from there to LA to move there, and then I've done the southern route on I-10 from LA to Florida. I don't know how many times. I think I've driven cross country. Maybe like
You've
5 or 6 times.
A lot of different places too. Which one?
Say a lot.
Well, you did
enough.
Boston, DC. You lived with me in Miami.
Yes.
LA.
Yes.
Madrid.
Yes.
Am I missing any?
Okay, we gotta go in order.
Okay.
So I was born in Massachusetts. So when we left Massachusetts, I was a few months old. Went to Santo Domingo. Stayed there, lived there till I was like 5, back to Massachusetts, but we went to Lawrence, Massachusetts, which, fun fact, Lawrence, Massachusetts has the second highest population of Dominicans outside of the Dominican Republic. So we went to Lawrence, Massachusetts.
I have no idea.
So that's why I'm here today. I'm here to school you on all the facts. Then we went to Salem, New Hampshire, then Lewisburg, Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Central PA, and then Tallahassee.
Mm.
Yeah, then Tallahassee. And then after Tallahassee, it was DC. And then DC to LA. And then LA to just random roaming.
New York
for 6 months. And then Egypt. I traveled. Yeah, I did Barcelona. I lived in Barcelona for a little bit. And then Egypt for a few months. And after Egypt is when I ended up with you. Yes, in Miami. Yeah.
So where would you feel, like which one of those feels most like home, would you say?
I feel very at home in Madrid because I have my space in the apartment that I want, and my own furniture that I've bought, and so that's very much home for me. South Florida is feeling more like home now, and especially now that you're back. But my parents are in South Florida too, so it feels more like home, but it doesn't feel like home. It just feels like
a second home.
Yeah, like a second home.
Yeah,
and. I don't know. I haven't been back to LA in 5 years, so I'm planning to go back next year, and I don't know, because LA to me was always home. Like LA, even after I moved away, LA was always home. So I don't know if I'll feel the same after not having been back for 5 years. So we'll see.
I kind of want to go.
When I go?
Yeah,
you should.
I know. We'll see where I'm at.
Yeah. What feels like home for you?
Lord, my bed. That's all I got. That's an interesting question.
Yes. What is home for you? Or what feels like home to you?
I don't even know anymore. I think the closest is like when I have my dog. I think that's like the most steady constant. And you know what that's like now. It's like I don't even shooting this, I'm like, my dog's not here. I think that's the most like grounding thing I have. And I know that's weird because it's an animal, but.
No, but I get it. I hold space for that. Since becoming a dog mom, I absolutely get it. And before I was a dog mom, I was like, all of you
were so judgmental of us.
I still think we're crazy, but now I'm part of the crazy.
Thank you
but
for coming back. Yes, we are.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It is insane.
But I think that's that. I think this year has really taught me that home may not be like a permanent place. It could be just a feeling that you get where you're somewhere, but I don't know where that somewhere is, and that's the the tricky. Well, I know that's like the metaphysical. I understand that, but it would be nice to like not be in boxes for the next 6 months. Mm-hmm. So I think this year I'm really going to try to focus on what that looks like in a more like concrete, tangible sense, just to just not have myself in boxes anymore. And just like, you know, it's fun for a little while. Like if you're traveling, I think it's different. Or if you're like, oh, I'm going to do the nomadic thing and I'm going to live here.
It's not though. I've done the nomadic thing, and like everything has its limits, you know, and I've lived out of hotels for so long. And also I did the digital nomad thing for a while. And you just get to a point where like, I just want my stuff. Like I want to, and it's not even for me. It's not even like, cause it's funny. Somebody asked me the other day, I was at a lunch, and he was like, oh, you know, since you move around so much, like what would you do if you met somebody who lived in a certain city, and, you know, questions along those lines. I'm like, well, I love a long distance relationship. And so, but we were talking about that whole concept of home, and where was I going with this? It has to do with the nomadic.
I want my stuff.
Oh, yeah, it was like I like having my space, right? Because that was what it was. He was implying, well, you know, if you have your home base, your place that you're always at all the time. And I'm like, it's not that for me. It's not that I have to be there all the time. Yeah. I like to know that it's there so that I can go back to it. Because that's why digital nomading got so exhausting for me. Because you're constantly moving stuff around. You have your backpack or your suitcase or however it is that you choose to travel. And you're just going. There comes a point where I'm like, I just need to take a break from going. Even if it's for a week or two. And I just want to be in my space. Yeah, I just want to be in my space, even if it means that I'm going to get up and go next month or next week or whatever. That's fine. But I want to have a place to go back to that is mine and that has my stuff. Yeah. You know?
And it's not even a materialistic thing.
It's not even it's just my stuff, like my existence, like just my stuff, whatever it is. You know?
Have it be in a place for like this is a spot and it'll always be there. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think that peace of mind is the link that I'm missing of just like, you know, now I'm just kind of like in a room and things are constantly moving. And if I get something else, then I got to move something else. And it's like, oh, this was in storage and that was in Austin. And it's just this whole back and forth. So limiting that would be ideal. Now, where that's going to be, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be in South Florida. I do feel like my time here is up, but will it be back in Austin? Will it be California? Will it be the Pacific Northwest? I don't know.
Yeah. How is that feeling or that process for you of feeling that your time here is up, but then finding yourself back here in pretty much against your will circumstances?
What was the process of it? The feeling of it?
Yeah, like how does that? How do you feel about that? Like when you, because I know that feeling of like, oh, my time here is up. I'm very familiar with that feeling. I don't know what I would do or how I would feel if I was then thrust back into that situation after I had already made the mental, you know, had made that decision and kind of blocked it off. Like this is no longer part of my identity. Yeah. And then to find yourself back there. How's that been for you?
I mean, at first, it was like literally devastating. Like, obviously, I went through a lot this year. I went through the job loss, the egg not working, I guess a breakup from a situationship, you know, adoption not happening. So at the end of that whole process, I was just so drained that it was just like this. It was heartbreaking. It was devastating. When I pulled out to drive back, I was weeping. And my poor dad was like, he's looking at me, he's like, I don't know what to do. I even get emotional thinking about it now. It was really hard. It was really, really hard. But like, I love that you're holding space.
But I'm not doing it right.
No.
Okay. Just let it out.
It was tough. And like, it's great that people were like, and I feel so bad because people are like, oh, I'm so glad you're back. Oh my God, you're back. And here I'm like, but I don't want to be here. You know, I feel terrible about that. You know, my family's happy. My friends are happy. Obviously, you're happy because I'm here.
Well, I mean, I was ready to go visit you in Austin or wherever you were.
And a lot of people did come visit me, which is really cool. And that was like a really heartwarming thing of people were excited that I went. But it felt like everything to get me there felt so smooth and like good. So for it to just collapse it was rough. It was really fucking rough. I can't believe I'm the first person to cry. What the fuck?
It is your show, so you're leading the way.
God, why does it have to be me? But yeah, it was hard. And so, you know, you've been telling me like, just take a break, just relax, you know, just let yourself like
exist.
Yeah, just grieve it. But I think it got me here. You know what I mean? I would have never done this. I don't think I would have done it to the extent that I am doing it now had I still been over there.
Oh, I mean, absolutely not.
I would have the money to do it.
No, that's the thing. Like, I feel like, I don't know if it's necessarily a creative person thing or if it's just a life in a reaction thing. But I feel like a lot of us don't really push ourselves or don't really allow ourselves to pursue something that we might have been interested in until we're absolutely devastated or distraught or going through a hard time. And I don't know what that is.
Why are we like this?
Why are we like this? Because same with me. Like, I feel like the times where I have felt the most in touch with myself and the most productive in terms of like my creativity and the things that I allowed myself to try have been after a devastating breakup or after I've lost a job or after I had a nervous breakdown and left, you know, my entire identity behind. And, you know, and that it wasn't until then that I allowed myself to say, you know what, I've been interested in this thing, or I've been trying, you know, I've always wondered about this. Let me just like dip my toe in that and see what happens. I don't know what it is about devastation that makes us say, you know what? I guess maybe it's the what else do I have to lose?
I mean, I think that's an important part of it. It's like at this point I'm like, what else? It's all like, not all of it, you know. You could say, you know, I still have my friends and my family, and you know, I have my health and to an extent, and so yeah, it's like, what else? And I also think it's also this, like, when you are a creative person, you have this like necessity to create, whether it's me, I'm a writer, like you with your projects, there's always this draw that you have to be doing something that speaks to that side of you. And so I think I really repressed that for a long time just to survive, you know what I mean? And I even think going to Austin and taking the job was like, this is secure, this is another step, like, you know what I mean? The finances would be there. I have great insurance. It's a corporate job. To kind of settle that, thinking that, okay, once I settle that, then I can do the creative thing. But now that that's gone, I'm like, well, just do the creative thing anyways. Right. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It does. And beautifully so. Thank you.
I tried.
Thank you.
I tried.
And look at you now.
I know. Yeah, I think we could probably leave it at that. Yeah.
You want to end it there?
I'm done.
She's emotionally spent,
I've cried,
folks.
and I'm done.
I guess my work here is done. I've done what I said that I would do, and I can leave now.
Yeah, unless there's anything else you want to throw in.
And I don't think I can top that, honestly.
No, you can't top me.
I can't top you crying and being vulnerable. No. Sorry. Well. But I appreciate that. Thank you.
I know.
Thank you for letting me in. Thank you for letting us in.
Of course. It only would have happened probably with you. Anybody else would be like, I'm fine. But
so you gotta stop pretending to be strong all the time.
I know, it's a bad habit.
It is a bad habit.
It's a very bad habit.
But I feel like it's a socially imposed bad habit. It's not even always a personal choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's definitely like a conditioning thing for sure. But yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here.
Me too. Time to get deconditioned.
Oh, I can't. There's still one question. What am I even saying?
I don't know.
The name of the show is I Wish Someone Would Have Told Me.
Oh, goodness. Is this going to be like a what do I wish someone would have told me?
Yes. It's a 2-part question, and I'm just going to say them both so you can like get them done. What you wish someone would have told you.
About anything.
About anything. And then what you hope your older self is telling you right now. Drinks
Have people actually answered this question?
Yes.
Did it take them like half an hour to think of a response? Oh, damn.
It's actually pretty immediate. No pressure.
How is this a question with an immediate response? I feel like this requires like
Start with the first
a
one.
meditation and like burning sage and
Take a
this
deep
is the
breath.
first one. I wish someone would have told me. Thank God for editing because I need a minute.
Take all the time you want.
It's just like about what, you know?
Do you need a prompt?
No, I'm getting there.
Okay, I'm just making sure. Just looking out. I'm just looking out.
Gosh.
We're just looking
She
out.
cries and then she gets pushy.
I'm not being pushy. I'm just looking out. I'm just gonna.
God damn. Because like I'm like kind of like going towards relationships, but then I don't know if that's like anything I wish somebody would have told me.
I think that's relevant.
To life or to me?
Just in general. We haven't talked a lot about that, but I feel like that's...
About relationships? In any of the episodes, or do you mean just with me?
Actually, we haven't talked about it in anybody's episode yet, which I think is, it's coming, I think, but we haven't dug into
I don't
it yet.
even know how to phrase it. Like, I wish somebody would have told me that romantic relationships really aren't that important.
Okay. Do you want to elaborate?
No.
Okay.
Oh, goodness.
All right.
I'm going to stick with that answer.
Okay. And then what do you hope that the older version of you is telling you?
How silly of you to say that romantic relationships aren't that important.
So you're hoping that you're... Okay, I got this. So you're hoping that...
No, take it back. What about my future self?
No,
Okay,
that's
so
good.
Is it?
I think it is. I think it's a very... Because it's saying younger you prioritize relationships too much.
Absolutely.
Romantic relationships.
Yes.
And then older you would be telling you right now, that was wrong then, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong now. That now you're in a different space and that you will have something
that interpretation works. Sure.
Yeah.
I stick with my answer then.
Yay.
Yes.
Well, that's all
It
right.
only took an hour to get there.
We did it. We're done here.